Hi, my name is Shelomo Solson. I'm the host of Dreamers University. The first and third Tuesday of every month, I'm going to provide you with an episode filled with inspiring stories and practical tips to help you live your dream life. I'm going to do so all under 30 minutes. If you want to commit to achieving your dreams, go ahead, subscribe to this podcast, and enjoy this episode. Hey Dream Makers, welcome to my third episode of Dreamers University, where I'm going to talk about the 5 steps that you can follow if you want to start a side hustle even when you're busy, unmotivated, and lazy. Like I mentioned in the first episode, I surveyed almost 100 working professionals like you and I on their biggest challenges in life. And over half of them said their top 3 challenges were they were unmotivated and lazy, they wanted more money, and they wanted more out of life. I want you to think about your daily habits, right? We go to work 8 to 5. Some of us 8 to 6, some of us 9 to 5. Whatever your work schedule is, some of us have work night shifts. And you work, you come home, you have dinner, you spend time with your loved ones, you may go work out, and you do this all over again. You may have 1 to 2 hours where you're sitting on the couch and watching Netflix and watching TV or being on social media to kind of decompress. You're exhausted. Your day just wore you out. Then on weekends, you want to relax. You want to rejuvenate for Monday through Friday again. Now, there's nothing wrong with that routine. But a lot of times, I hear from other people that they are unfulfilled in life because they do this Monday through Friday routine where they have a couple hours where they're exhausted at night, just chilling. And then on weekends, they spend traveling, going out, doing whatever they need to do, spend time with family. And they love their weekends, but their weekdays are exhausting and they kind of want more out of life. Well, if you feel this way, if you feel like, if you ask yourself this question, is this it? Is this how my life is going to be for the next 30, 40 years? Is there more to life? If you're asking yourself these questions, then this podcast episode is for you. But if you're completely fulfilled with your life in 10 years and you look at your life and you want to be doing exactly what you're doing right now, then feel free to skip over this episode. This episode is not for you. But if you ask yourself, I want more out of life. If you tell yourself, I want more out of life, and in 10 years, you want to be in a completely different space, mentally, physically, emotionally, in your career, then stay tuned. I'm going to go over 5 steps on how you can start your side hustle, even when you're busy, even when you're not motivated, even when you feel lazy. First step to start your side hustle is you must find one thing that you see yourself doing at least 10 years from now. And the reason why I say one thing is because a lot of times we try multiple things. And there's nothing wrong with experimenting to see what you like to do, to see what you're good at, to see what you're not good at, or to see what you have potential to be good at, right? But many times, a lot of us, I see people having multiple side hustles in the beginning. They go into real estate, then they do crypto, then they have an influencer brand, then they're writing a book. They're doing 3, 4 things at the same time. And you can do those things after one thing is super successful. If you look at many successful people, even like The Rock or Kevin Hart, who have a million things going on. In the beginning, they didn't have a million things going on. Kevin Hart only had comedy in the beginning. The Rock only had wrestling. Then he focused only on acting. And then Kevin Hart and The Rock branched out into multiple things. They can do that because they became successful in one thing. But nowadays, I see people doing so many different things, and they're not barely making money on any of the things they're pursuing. They say you need 10,000 hours to be an expert in something. So spend 10,000 hours doing one thing, become an expert, make a lot of money out of it, and then branch out. But for now, you have to see what you love to do, what you have potential doing, what you love to do, what you're good at, what you have potential to be good at, what you could possibly make money from doing. And once you decided on that one thing, you can experiment in the beginning, but once you decided on that one thing, stick to that one thing. If you're one of those people who have multiple things going on, 10 things going on, 5 things going on, then eliminate all of them and just take it down to one thing. One thing that you can see yourself doing in the next 10 years, because that one thing is going to make you a lot of money, and that one thing is going to help you branch out into different side hustles. Second step, set one big goal, and then set a series of small, attainable goals. Now, you don't go just from A to B without achieving some things in between. If you have a long road trip, if you've ever been on a long road trip, for example, I drove with my family one time from Michigan to Tampa. You don't just drive from Michigan to Tampa without stopping. You drive from one state to another without stopping. And that's like your short-term goal. Like, hey, I'm stopping at this location. Then I'm stopping on this location. Now I'm going to stay the night at this hotel halfway through. And then I'm going to do it all over again. And hopefully within 2 to 3 days, I can drive from Michigan to Florida. But no one ever drives from Michigan to Florida nonstop, or else they're going to be exhausted and they're going to be burnt out. But they have a vision. They have a goal. Okay, Michigan to Florida, I'm going to stop at this location, then I'm going to stop at this location, then I'm going to stop at this location. Those are smaller destinations that you stop at. The same thing is with our goals. If you're starting a podcast, right, your big dream goal could be 1 billion downloads. But you're not going to get $1 billion downloads overnight. Maybe your first month, it could be 1,000 downloads. And that could be an attainable goal. Then 10,000 downloads. Then 50,000 downloads. Then 100,000 downloads. Then 500,000 downloads. Then 1 million. Then over time, you're going to reach that 1 billion downloads. And that applies to any goal that you do. When you just go for a big goal and you're not reaching that big goal right away, we can get burnt out because we're working so hard to race to that big goal. We could get burnt out. We could get exhausted. And we just lose our drive, our motivation, because we're not getting to that goal as fast as we want to get to that goal. But if you set small, attainable goals, what that does is that builds confidence for the bigger goal. And then once you achieve that bigger goal, it builds bigger confidence and more confidence and more confidence until you can actually believe that you can achieve that big goal you set out to achieve. Third step to work on your side hustle, even if you're busy, if you're unmotivated, if you're lazy, is set aside non-negotiable time to work on your side hustle and to work on your goals. Do you know on average we spend 147 minutes a day on social media? That's 2.5 hours on social media every day. That's 17 hours a week. That's 892 hours in a year. Let's cut down the time we spend on social media. Suppose instead of spending 2.5 hours, we spend 30 minutes, and the other 2 hours we work on our dream. That's 2 hours a day, 14 hours a week, 728 hours in a year. Suppose you don't spend that time on social media. I guarantee you that you have some time wasters that you don't know about. Whether it's watching TV, whether it's just scrolling the internet, whether it's just mindlessly thinking, whatever it is, you can find at least 1 hour to 2 hours in a day where you're not doing anything, where you're not being productive, where you're just kind of like mindlessly doing nothing. Use that time and set aside that time to work on your dreams and work on your goals. And just like you may set aside 30 minutes to an hour a day exercising, you may set aside 30 minutes an hour a day to spend with your partner. Set aside 30 minutes to an hour in a day minimum on your dreams. Step number 4, hire a mentor or coach to help you work on your dream and your goal. And the reason why I said this a little bit later and not earlier in the steps is because we need to work on our goal on ourselves a little bit before we get the most out of the mentor, before we get the most out of our coach. Here's why. Is because when you work on a dream and when you work on a goal, you're going to go through a certain amount of trials and tribulations for yourself. You're going to see what works, what doesn't work, what you like, what you don't like. And you're going to go through your failure, you're going to go through your frustrations, and it's going to make you more resilient in the end. So when you hire a mentor or a coach, now what they're going to do, you already have your resilience, you already have your base that you're going off of. And when you hire a mentor or coach now, all they need to do is guide you to the right direction. If you hire a mentor or coach early on, you could be wasting your money. For example, when I first started my speaking career, at 24, 25, I spent my entire life savings, $10,000, on hiring a speaking coach, which is Brian Tracy. I didn't do anything else to try to speak outside of Toastmasters. I didn't try to get paid speaking engagements or other speaking engagements. I didn't try to create my own speech, which was right for me. I didn't go through my own trials and tribulations. I, from the start, knew I wanted to start a speaking business. I hired a mentor, which was costly. He had a lot of valuable information, but I was not ready for that information. I couldn't comprehend the information because I haven't gone through my own trials and my own tribulations. And then when I finally went through my own trials and when I went through my own tribulations, I hired a couple more speaking coaches that was less money. And automatically, within 6 months, I started getting paid speaking engagements. Why? It's because I built that resilience. I made my own mistakes. I knew what I wanted and what I didn't want. And when I finally hired a coach, I hired the right coach that was the right fit for me. And I got so much more information out of that coach than when I hired my coaches I had early on because I wasn't ready for them. Now for you, whatever coach you want to hire, whether it's a business coach, a sales coach, a writing coach, whatever courses you want to take, I recommend going through your own trials and tribulations, do your own research, and it may be 6 months from now, 1 year from now, 2 years from now, when you hire a coach, hire the coach that is the best fit for you based off of your own interests and based off of your own personality. And the 5th and final step is small daily steps is going to compound into larger wins. Robert Collier, which is an American author, has a quote. He says, "Success is the sum of small efforts repeated day in and day out." In terms of money, I want to provide a financial example to compounding. If you invest $5,000 in 1 year today with a 10% annual interest, you're going to get $500 extra in a year. In the next 35 years, you're going to get $1.6 million. For an extra 5 years, you're going to get $2.6 million altogether. So within that 5 years, you made an extra $1 million. Now, the same thing works for your dreams. You could be working on your dreams for 9 years. and get little to no results. But on that 10th year, could be a game changer. Could be the difference between you not being a millionaire to being a millionaire or a billionaire. It could be the difference between your company being bought out to not your company being bought out. It could be being signed by a record label to not being signed by a record label. It can mean not having a viral video to having a viral video. Like, I can talk about this in so many different angles. When you're working on your dreams and you're working in small steps, in small increments, you may not see the change right now, but the change is happening. And every time you're going to see small changes. But eventually, there's going to be 1 year where you're going to see a huge change. And because you didn't give up on your dreams, that change happened. If you just spend 30 minutes a day on your side hustle, if you only have 30 minutes, maybe in the car, listen to an audiobook on your subject, or maybe you have 30 minutes downtime at nighttime, or wake up 30 minutes earlier. If you only have 30 minutes a day, you work on your dreams for 6 days a week, for 30 hours, that's 150 hours in a year. Then the next year, you spend 1 hour. That's 300 hours in a year. The next year, you spend 2 hours. That's 600 hours in a year. The next year, you spend 4 hours. That's 1,200 hours in a year. Then eventually, you can make your side hustle into a full-time income, into spending on your dreams full-time for 8 to 10 hours in a day, maybe. But that would have never started if you automatically assumed that you're supposed to go all out and you're supposed to sprint to this destination, to this dream goal that you have. You started small, you built up your confidence, you started seeing your results, you started doing a little bit more, and eventually it compounded to a certain point where maybe you can make it full time, or maybe you can have several side hustles working for you. But you have to have the discipline to spend at least 30 minutes a day for 6 days a week, for 50 days, for 50 weeks out of the year to work on your side hustle. You must have the discipline to increase that over time. Then you're going to see results. So let me just review the 5 steps. For you to start your side hustle, go after your side hustle, even if you're busy, not motivated, and you're feeling lazy. Number 1, find one thing you know you want to focus on for at least the next 10 years. Number 2, set a large goal, and then set a series of small, attainable goals. Number 3, set non-negotiable time to work on your dreams. Number 4, hire a mentor or a coach to help you get there. And number 5, take small daily steps so it can compound into big wins. I heard a quote on social media. I don't know who it's from, but I heard a quote saying that if you think sacrificing 10 years of your life for a dream and a goal is going to be hard, think about how hard it's going to be if you didn't take any action. And 10 years from now, you're looking back regretting that you didn't take any action. Which heart would you rather have? Would you rather have the heart of sacrificing the time in the next 10 years to work on your dreams? Or would you rather have your heart spending the next 10 years not sacrificing any time and looking back wishing that you did? It's not a sacrifice, ladies and gentlemen. It's an investment of your time. So reframe your mind into believing you're investing for your future instead of sacrificing your present time and money. So follow those 5 steps I have gone over. My call to action for you is go over, get a piece of paper, and follow those 5 steps. But for now, just try to focus on one thing that you have been putting off and go after that one thing. Thank you for listening, Dream Makers. I hope you found this podcast useful. If you are on Apple Podcasts, please rate and review the podcast. I'm trying to reach as many listeners as possible. So once you subscribe, once you rate and review, it's going to help me. It's going to allow me to impact more people. And if you know some people who's going through some tough times, who want to go after their dreams, share Dreamers University with them, and go ahead, DM me on Instagram and Facebook. My handle name is @Shelomo Solson in the show notes. Let me know what topics you want to listen to and what people you would want me to interview. Thank you, and stay tuned for my next episode. Peace.